Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Let's Do a Podcast. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Anthony.
and we're not doing
Points.
Cage Fest.
I miss it already.
I don't.
Do I miss it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
we gotta let that refill itself. We gotta let Mr. Cage rejuvenate the source, if you will. So gotta let
Exactly.
that happen.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was a great Cage Fest, it really was probably our best. I sure was ready for a break.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what did we do? 5 movies?
We did 5 movies. Fortunately for us, the Cage movies are a renewable resource.
Yeah, I already saw that there's a few more already like in the works. I'm like, of course, why not? Well, of course, before we start getting into anything else, let's talk about beer because I'm thirsty. So we're recording this on a Monday, so I'm already done with work. Means I need a drink.
Yeah. Oh boy, do I ever.
So this beer is actually from Idaho. So on our trip, our drive, huh?
Idaho.
On our drive up here from Texas, of course, I had to pick up beer along the way. And so here is Sockeye, is the Winterfest Strong Ale.
Ooh.
Immediately when I cracked it open, it just hits you right in the face with all the smells. It says this American style strong ale has deep, rich malt oh my gosh. You can tell my brain is already done.
Yeah, it's been a day.
Yeah, complexity with hints of toffee, caramel, and light roasted barley. It is a 7.3 APV, 85 IBU. Malts are, well, Idaho Pale Malt, Victory, Crystal, what? Flaked barley and chocolate. Okay.
Victory crystals. Love it.
And yeah, so we'll see. What are you drinking over there, Anthony?
So over here in the theme of this movie, I am watching. Well,
Terrible pour. Like I haven't had a beer before.
Grade A pour there. Jeez. And so in memoriam for the movie we just watched, I am drinking from Starbase Brewing, a relatively new brewery here in Texas, down in Austin, Star Hopped from Starbase Brewing. And it's really interesting. So being that they're new and that they have an interesting name, they on the can it says it's established on Earth, but it's brewed for Mars. And they have on their mission, their goal is to explore the future of craft beer in space. They want to be the first brewery on Mars, which I'm like, about it. I'm about it. Send like a brewery over on like the next rover and brew some beer over there. Brew some Mars beer once we find some water over there.
Mm.
But Star Hopped from there, and the description for this is a double dry hopped IPA. Oh, what? I'm drinking an IPA? Never heard of it.
You didn't even know?
I know, right? I've never had an IPA before. It's bursting with sweet notes of pineapple, peach, and blueberry. Named for an iconic Mars rocket prototype, this beer boasts a soft, pillowy mouthfeel and the perfect bitterness profile. And it's got a Carl Sagan quote with it. The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff, and we are a way for the universe to know itself. Carl Sagan. I am very convinced. It doesn't say it on their website, but I'm very convinced that this is a bunch of a brewery founded by a bunch of like SpaceX employees. It's got to be.
Yeah.
For
that thing, it has to be.
Yeah. Now for the all important sound test. Oh, it's so good. Science.
I did a terrible pour, and the head's not going away, so it means I'm just gonna have to drink through the head. I guess that's what she said. I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely dark like a winter ale. So we'll see what happens. Wow.
Ooh, that's got some good IPA smell to it.
Whoa, buddy.
Ooh, buddy, this is good.
Um,
What about you? I don't know if that was a good buddy or a bad buddy.
it's a little rough for me.
Is it getting into
So
barley wine territory? I heard barley, and I was like, "Oh, is that getting close to barley wine?"
not necessarily. So I've had other beers from this brewery. So actually, at the hotel we stayed at, you could buy like a mix pack of this beer. So I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to leave. For one, it was super late already when we got there, so nothing was
Mm-hmm.
open. And so I was like, okay. So I grabbed a mix pack and I had just like the regular IPA. I had like a stout and like they were okay. So I was just like, okay, well, I was like, I want to save one to do on the show. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I saved one for the show and it just
Right.
was this. So I mean, so I think in general their style is not my cup of tea, but yeah,
Yeah.
this is I mean, it's a winter very strong ale and it's 85 IBU. So
Yeah, it's intended to keep you warm when it's cold outside.
yeah.
It
Uh
just seems like it may be still cold up there. So,
Yeah, today for most of the morning it was like 34 still.
oh
So
my goodness,
yeah,
it's got
chance
up
of
in the 60s today, which was pretty chilly
snow.
for me. So,
Yeah, chance of snow again later this week. I'm like, cool, why not? I don't mind it
ooh,
though. Um, so it'll be interesting to see at the end of this episode what I think about this beer because right now I'm definitely unsure. Um, first sip was rough, but you know what? There have been times where the first sip was rough. Oh shit! Almost overpoured. For the first sip was rough, and then I ended up liking it. So I need to got to give it time. Can't just right off the bat tell you if it's good or not. So,
right.
in my opinion, of course. All right. What do we? I totally blanked. What do we do
Events.
now?
There's stuff going on.
Events, things.
There are things
Yes.
going on. I will start. So we are getting into April Fool's weekend. There's always some good events on April Fool's weekend. I'm ready for some April Fool's jokes on the interwebs. There's always, I feel like they're not as good as they were during the pandemic because I feel like people had nothing better to do, but I'm always up for some interesting, like, products that people are like joking about, but then they ultimately become real products because they didn't think people would get excited about those things. But
Mm-hmm.
this has nothing to do with the events. There's just events going on this weekend. We talked about this last time. Martin House Brewing Company on this Friday, Friday the 31st. They have their Trouble in the Trinity 2 live pro wrestling at 7 p.m. So if you want to go see some live pro wrestling out at Martin House, do that this Friday. On April Fool's Day, we got, and these are no joke, these are some actual events. We got some at the next day. If you're just like stuck at Martin House and you want to go there again on Saturday, they have the Pup Gang meetup for fans with four-legged friends. So if you have a dog and you want to go meet some other dogs, go to Martin House. Hey, even if you don't have a dog and you want to go pet some dogs, I'm sure you can go there and pet some people's dogs. So Martin House at noon on Saturday, the April Fool's Day. I hope that's not a joke because that would be really a bummer.
That would be
But
mean.
Neutral Ground Brewing, what's that?
That'd just be mean.
It would be mean. Neutral Ground Brewing Company's got their second anniversary. They got a DJ coming, which is fun. And Vector Brewing has their third anniversary block party. Is also on April Fool's Day. Man, who would open a place on April Fool's Day? It's like I'm opening a brewery. Ha, just kidding.
Yeah. Are you really though?
Who knows? Three Nations on Sunday, April 2nd. They're doing an Easter egg hunt. Is Easter this weekend? It can't be, right?
Next weekend.
Maybe they're just really early. But also on Sunday is the Celestial Beer Works is their 5th annual adult science fair. I'm guessing it's too late to sign up for it now, but I'm willing to bet there's some pretty cool stuff going to be going down over there. So don't totally go check it out. Out on the horizon, April 15th. Not so much on the horizon anymore, anyways, but Big Texas Beer Fest is on April 15th. On tax day, we have. I'm confused. They have multiple dates for the beer at the 15th annual Adult Science Fair. It's on both the April 2nd and April 22nd. So roll a dice there, 50-50 shot. It's either on the day with 1-2 or 2-2s. Community on April 22nd, they have their 10-year anniversary party. So all that good stuff coming up. And the event that I'm looking forward the most, Hops and Props, April 29th. Be there or be square.
I'll have to be square. Sorry.
Yeah. Fly on over.
Yeah, just a quick
just
flight.
into Hops and Props, yeah.
So again, for me, I found a rough place that posts random stuff for events wise. So on April Fools, we have yoga and beer over at the Mayflower Tap Room in Portland. We got the Saturday brewery crawl. That is also April 1st over in Astoria, Oregon.
Mm-hmm. They have a museum over there in Astoria dedicated to the movie Goonies. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I totally want to go visit that place.
Yeah, it seems like there's areas that really dig into the Goonies around here. That's for sure.
Right?
Which, I mean, I don't blame them.
We started other than Thanos, so come on.
Yeah. So on the 2nd, there's a beer pairing with dinner over at Slow Draft Brewing. Ooh, that's pretty far out. Again, like the site that I look at, it's not in order, so I have to like kind of quickly like throw it together of all this stuff. There's a monthly bottle share over in Eugene, Oregon, which that would be fun. I've been wanting to go to a bottle share. Eugene, I think, is pretty far from me though, so I probably won't go there. But hey, maybe I can try. I've been thinking about maybe trying to get one started in this area. My little town doesn't have do that kind of stuff. It seems like, or if there is, I just don't know about it.
Fertile ground. You can bring some of that Texas beer magic over there.
Right. Then there is a chili war on April 1st, actually. So we're going back. Sorry, everybody. Over in Bend at Immersion Brewing. I would totally go there for that.
That sounds good. I go for some chili before it starts warming up again.
Yeah, chili's so good. Mm-hmm. And the last one I want to point out is actually for Easter weekend, just since, we're actually going back to 2 episodes a month. Is on April 8th, there's Easter Pups and Pints. So you get to take your dog to the Eagle Crest Resort, which is also a brewery, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah, take your pup, get your pictures taken. They can, I think they hide little dog treats around for your dogs to find and drink beer. So, again, I gotta get better about finding something better, or at least putting these in somewhat better order. Cause this is terrible. But I at least have things to talk about. It's an improvement.
I'm telling you, you got to do the beer and the big O there.
Yeah, that's so much work. I don't know how the beer and the big D guy does it. That's insane. But I guess let's move on to the movie.
All right.
So
yeah.
So I don't think we really talked about it. I said I was going to post about it. I didn't, because I'm slacking on everything except for work. So what we decided to do is, for our first 2 movies back, out of Cage Fest, was the sci-fi movies that got us into the sci-fi nerdism world, right? Isn't that what we kind of said?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Anthony picked the movie that he was like, this is the movie that got me like this is my movie kind of thing. And then I picked mine. So for Anthony's, it's LifePod, the 1993 movie.
TV
Uh,
movie.
yeah,
It's
sorry,
a
yeah,
TV
TV
movie.
movie, and you can definitely tell it's a TV movie.
Oh yeah.
Um,
There's some like people who are like pre famous at this point. Not like they never became like super famous, but some of them were like pre famous and some of them were famous already that were in
my
this movie. So I'm curious.
my question is, has Mystery Science Theater 3000 done this movie?
They have not done this
They
movie.
got to, because immediately I was
Yeah.
like, this would be a perfect movie for them. But
Ugh.
so give us the little spiel about this movie, and I will get talking because this is a crazy one.
All right, so this movie is LifePod. So LifePod chronicles the trip of 8 passengers after the ship they were on blew up on Christmas Eve, the year 2168 Anno Domini. Immediately, people start dying. That's what happens when a ship explodes. Passengers begin to investigate why the ship blew up and how it relates to them. So this movie is a remake. If you're familiar with Alfred Hitchcock, this is a remake or retelling of Lifeboat. I don't know if you can draw the lines between those two movies, but the Alfred Hitchcock story, Lifeboat, which tells a similar story. This story being the story of people who escaped from a star cruiser or spaceship when they were cruising between the planets Venus and Earth. They make it to an escape pod or a life pod to escape the ship before it explodes. In the movie Lifeboat, same thing happens, except it's an ocean liner that got was torpedoed by a Nazi submarine, and they made it to a lifeboat. And turns out one of the people on the lifeboat escaped because they were basically a saboteur or Nazi sympathizer or whatever. In this one, it's somebody who's not a Nazi per se. There's no Nazis in this movie, but somebody who's trying to cause a war by blowing up the ship and then escaping in the life pod with everybody else. But yeah, that's LifePod. LifePod is this TV movie, came out in 1993 that I still remembered plot point for plot point. I've only seen this movie one time, other than this time I watched it. And so plot for beat for beat, plot point for plot point, I remembered the hell out of this movie 20, 30 years later. It's crazy.
So you haven't watched it since?
No, I only saw this movie one time when I was like 9 years old.
Oh,
and
wow.
now I'm 30 years older and I still remembered this movie.
That's really good. It immediately is super cheesy and it's awesome.
Like, oh yeah, it's like
just,
cheesy, like cheesy, like when they're like in the beginning and they're showing them inside the bridge of the ship, and it's like looks like very like knockoff Battlestar Galactica.
yeah, yeah, and like the card, and because immediately it shows, I can't remember what's her name, the one that drives the ship.
Maveen.
Yes. So immediately
she's the incomparable CCH Pounder.
Yeah, she opens this card and it's apparently her kids that say, "What? We love you," or "Merry Christmas."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, "Merry Christmas." But it's so robotic that it's just like that's nobody's kids. And like she like falls in love with the card. I'm like, your kids sound dumb. Like,
yeah,
like
it's like the card technology is like worse than what we currently have.
Yeah,
like,
and what we have is
years before
great.
this movie happens. Yeah.
But yeah, that's honestly like that kind of beginning scene is when I'm like, okay, I know what kind of sci-fi movie this is gonna be.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. It was really fun. Like again, like you see the acting, it's super cheesy, and like even for 1993, I feel like the graphics and all that kind of stuff is even cheesy for back then.
Well, I feel like they get away with it a little bit, yeah, because they say like they talk about how crappy this pod they're on is and how cheap everything is, and so like kind of like the cheap sets kind of like live up to that a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely felt like we didn't have money for this movie, so let's really play into it. Well, this stuff just sucks, but we have just sucks because we didn't put money into it, and it's funny because they literally didn't have money to put into the movie, so it worked because they called it out. Like I think that's what made it workable, is like they would call out the stupid shit that they would have to deal with in a
Yeah.
sense. Um, the but I mean, I had no idea who was sabotaging. Like, I had no idea who was the
Oh, you
one
didn't
causing
know?
these problems. I didn't know.
See, that's so
My
I felt that.
first
I remembered who it was, and I was like, oh no. Since I watched it 30 years ago, and I still remember who the bad guy is. I'm like, kind of takes a little bit of the suspense out of the movie.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I
Yeah,
could see this definitely being the kind of movie that it's a one and done. That's for
yeah.
sure. Um, there were times I'm like, it's got to be the blind guy, but there were times too I'm like, maybe it's the obvious people that they're pointing at. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just at first you're like, it's definitely the blind guy. Like, come on. But then, you start second guessing yourself because things start happening. You're like, well, maybe he's not. Considering he's even the one that was like calling out bullshit
Yeah, he
of
was like,
like,
but he was also saying the one saying like, if we killed off people who were like not contributing, then we would have more food and water.
yeah, but in a scenario, I could see you doing those calculations. You wouldn't be the one actually killing somebody off, but you could be like,
Nah, sure.
Ryan, if we got rid of one of us, the rest of us would be able to live a lot longer. Like, yeah, but it's not happening. And you're like, yeah, it's not happening. But I'm just saying.
Just putting it out there.
Just put it just so we all know.
Happens.
Yeah, it's just so we all know we could survive a lot longer if somebody died right now.
I'd be afraid. I'm the one that puts that out there, and then I'm the one that gets picked to be killed off. So
yeah,
it's like if you smelt it, you dealt it, kind of thing.
Yeah, especially since he very poorly tried to off himself.
Oh yeah,
like he didn't do like he knew he wasn't going to kill himself. He knew that they would all save him, so he was trying to kill himself. I think. I don't know. I surprisingly really stayed entertained. And I just there's so much about this movie that I just didn't expect. Because
I'm glad 9-year-old me had such refined tastes to remember this movie.
Because really, like, I think anybody, if you watch this before, if you're gonna even watch it after this, you'll start the movie and you're thinking, okay, it's gonna be this kind of movie. But then you're like, oh, like again, because they call out the stuff and because just the way that they do the movie, you're like, okay, this is actually fun. Like, it's not just a stupid movie. It's like actually good and stupid.
Yeah, I want to say, like, if you've seen it, this movie starts off very much like Space Mutiny, which was a Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie that they did. It very much starts out like that. Again, like a Battlestar Galactica knockoff. But it's like if that movie like actually had the balls to do like gritty shit, that's what this movie does. It's like they chop off a guy's leg during the course of the movie because it has gangrene.
Yeah. Oh my god. I was so worried that you'd start seeing, the blood and all that stuff, but luckily they didn't.
It's still a 1990s TV movie, so
yeah, they can't go too crazy.
Yeah. If they did that now, then maybe.
So, anything you want to add? I know I did most of the talking, but is there anything you want to add before we actually get into the what we like and what we dislike?
Well, it's funny. The only reason I really remember this movie is because after I watched this movie as a kid, I did so many drawings of the of different scenes in the movie. Like, I have so many drawings. I'm sure I didn't have time to go dig them up, but I'm sure I have a box of drawings in one of my closets, and I can picture them in my mind. I have pictures of the LifePod drawn everywhere. I have pictures of the LifePod in the Comet's tail, because that's when the lady's getting basically beat the hell up by these meteoroids or whatever. And then I also have pictures of Q3, the little short guy with his robot arm running around. And so that's the only reason I really remember this movie is because I just drew it so much when I was a kid, because it just really got me into space. I was already kind of into space, but it really got me into the sci-fi aspects of space. So it's this movie really got me to be the nerdy person that I am. This is this is prior to me liking Star Wars, how awesome I thought this movie was. So
Yeah, Q3 was definitely the best, I think, out of all of them.
mhm.
Uh,
which
I
so
think
like
I actually gasped whenever he died. Like,
yeah, I'm so
'cause you're like,
bummed when he
what?
died.
I was like, you actually killed him off? What's wrong with you? Um,
Which did you know? So Ed Gale, who plays Q3, so he's actually got some pretty big roles under his belt prior to this. He played the original Howard the Duck, the 1986 movie Howard the Duck. You ever saw that one?
no, I have no idea what you're
We're
talking
gonna have to
about.
do Howard the Duck then. That's gonna
Okay.
have to go on our list. He played Chucky in the original Child's Play.
Okay.
He was Station in Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure. You know, the little short aliens.
Mm,
Station. He was also in. He was in something more recently. He was.
oh, he was in Spaceballs.
Was he in Spaceballs? Oh, was he like one of the little short dudes?
I'm not sure. So Spaceballs, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, he was, and he was the little man in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That's the last thing I remember seeing him in.
Whenever I saw him, I thought he looked familiar, but honestly, I do that about so many people. I'm like, you look
Mhm.
really familiar, like we've never seen each other. Oh shit, okay. But I thought that I was like, he looks familiar, so just must be. Yeah, he's actually been in quite a bit of stuff, so
Yeah.
that's probably why I do know of him, and he looked familiar. But um, so let's knock out the negative. What did we dislike about this movie, Anthony? You're up.
So what I disliked about this movie, I feel like some of the characters weren't fleshed out of the well. And I understand TV movie. They were doing this. I can't remember if I wasn't paying attention to see where the commercial breaks were in the film. It was kind of hard because I was watching it on Pluto TV, which has commercial breaks built in.
Yeah.
But the commercial breaks weren't where you would think they should go. They were not well
Yeah.
placed.
No.
So it just kind of broke it up extra. But the characters that ended up being more important, like Kane, the guy who was the political prisoner, who ended up saving the day. The only thing we ended up learning about this guy was that he was afraid of like tight spaces, which ends up leading to Maveen dying. Like we get like a ton of characterization on Maveen, but she stays stuck up in like the pilot's deck there, and then she dies, and ultimately has like no role after she dies, except that they're like uh, sad that she died. Q3 takes it very personally, of course, because he's like his thing is like make sure nobody dies. The lady whose baby dies, she we don't really learn too much about her, but she like tries to kill, except that she tries to kill herself pretty quickly. Uh, the let's see, the and Januja, we learn a little bit about her. She's the med student slash doctor on there. We learn a little bit about her, but again, we just learn that she's angry at the Earth. It's like sets up like basically her reason that she may have done it, that she's like anti Earth Corp, but we don't learn anything too in depth about her. We learn a ton about Robert Loggia's character, the director. We learn about CCH Pounder's character. Maybe we learn about Q3 and get his background. But like ultimately, like none of these people are like the last two people that are on the ship. The only two that end up being left are Kane and Claire St. John, the journalist. And we know the least about these two. And so I was kind of bummed about that. We learned a lot about Terman being the blind guy, but like he ends up being jettisoned out the LifePod with a mouthful of liquid metal. I thought it would have been more violent of a death than it turned out to be. So
Yeah. So I my original thought going into this was, and I know I kind of talked about it being a positive in a sense, but like I was really gonna knock like how bad everything looked. But again, because I feel like they played that up, it made it not something you really cared about anymore.
mhm.
Um but I think really as I truly think about it, the thing I dislike the most is I wanted to know more. Like you get to know so many about these people, so much information, all that stuff. But I wanted to know uh what was the driver's name again?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe like
Yeah.
I wanted more because like her in Q3 had this. I mean, to me, it was more of like a friendship.
Yeah. It's
Like
collegial relationship.
yeah,
Yeah.
they had something besides just like we work together.
Well, although I got
And
the
this is
feeling
like,
that she was like calling these people toolies. I felt like she maybe like was like also almost like looking down on him a little bit, except that they're stuck on this pod together. So she's like there to take care of her. I felt like, at least in the beginning, I felt like that was her attitude towards like these guys, like T9 when he gets stuck in the like the core and finds this fusion mine thing, whatever.
yeah,
So she's calling them toolies, which I feel like is almost like a derogatory term.
yeah, it was weird. That's for sure. I don't know. It's just like I wanted you again. You saw so much and you learned so much about all these people that you you know some information you cared about, some you didn't. But I was just like, okay, I want to know her because like in my opinion, like she's the true hero in this whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like so I don't know, just kind of knowing that, adding that into the mix of because there's a lot of stuff they could have cut out or cut down
Mhm.
on to add in that secondary story of her. And I don't know, like to me that was kind of my biggest complaint. Was just like you you got us wanting this information, which you know that's also a good thing. They made it so it's like
Mhm.
you kind of want it, but you get nothing really, except for she keeps looking at this stupid Christmas card that
Yeah.
I could easily live without.
Also, I do have a complaint. So I do have a complaint. Other another complaint about it is that she ultimately dies because she gets stuck in the comet's tail, right? Okay, we can see comets from Earth, and they're like not anywhere close to Earth. We can see them from very far away. Space is big and empty. You can see comets from very far away. How did they not notice they were getting close to a comet until they were in the middle of it? How's that
Yeah, so
happen?
yeah, it's weird that they were surprised, but
It's
we
like all of a
also
sudden.
know that like she wouldn't be able to do anything about it anyways,
Yeah, but they could have used
but
that
it
to
was
build
a
suspense that we're
surprise.
getting closer to this comet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do agree that it was just like, oh, a comment came up. I'm like, okay, so you're staring way too hard at this fucking card. You got to pay attention to where you're going.
You totally missed the giant ass comet coming, like whizzing
Yeah.
by you.
I mean, that one's your fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everything else you get a slide on, but come on. Um, so yeah, to me, that's really, I think, my biggest complaint, especially since like the whole thing here, it's like there's, you know, they can't really rely on the violence. They can't rely on this or that. It's really these stories of these people is what they this whole movie is based off of.
Right.
And so to give us this character that's playing, in my opinion, she played a really big part, but you don't get that story. To me, that's a big miss, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Um, so that's mine. We'll go into the things that we like now, and I'll go first. You know, we switch it up. The thing that I like was you didn't know what was going to happen next. Um, so yeah, the spaceship gets blown up. They're in this life pod. They're floating around. Then we find out like, oh well, we have boosters, but just enough to do like one thing really.
Hmm.
And they find out, oh, like one of these pods that holds supplies got blown out this way. So they use their little boosters that they have left to get there. They're all excited, and then the thing spins around, and there's a huge hole in the side.
Yeah.
And
I
then
forgot
it
about that.
gets,
Yeah.
yeah, then it gets really fucking hot. They're all like sweating to death. And then like they find out, oh, there's I think like fuel or something like that in our water. Oh shit, it got sabotaged. And then just like I don't know, like in a sense, you knew what was going to happen, but you didn't know what was going to happen. This is like
Right.
you
They
knew
just
that,
keep on coming. Yeah.
yeah, like you knew, okay, there's still a bad person that's going to try to kill somebody here, or that at least blew up the spaceship that we were in. And like, especially as things started to happen, you're like, okay, somebody's killing off these people. Like you, so you knew in a sense of like the steps of like, okay, we're gonna get here to here, but you didn't know what was happening in between. Um, so I felt like it was a really well told story overall because there were little twists, there were little twists and turns. They killed off people Q3 that shouldn't have been killed off. He was that close. I was so
They
pissed.
saved him till like the very end, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, but he was so close. Like, why kill him off? Come on, he did not. He
I'll
did nothing but help.
I feel like it would have been much more of that much more of like like an irony that he ends up being like the last survivor of another ship. And it actually would have been really interesting if he was the one that was killing everybody.
I kind of wondered that
Yeah.
because there were times where, like, whenever he was alone, you're like, is he plotting who he's gonna kill next?
Yeah. Because he got the robot arm with all the like the little attachments, and
I mean,
I love.
especially
I thought that robot arm was so cool as a kid. So
oh yeah, it's pretty cool. Especially whenever he's just like, my arm's worth more than me to these people. I'm just like, this guy has a reason to start killing off all these people. But yeah, so I
like question.
Yeah.
Would you replace your arm with a robot arm for $50 more per day in pay?
A day? I don't know about that. If it was like
apparently
50,
that's why he did it. So
yeah, I mean, if times were tough, sure, I'll go for it.
yeah,
This is like $50 a day isn't that much.
come on, chainsaw arm.
I mean, yeah, maybe I would. It would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like, and I would do my right arm so I don't have aches and pains in my fingers, you know?
Nice. Yes. They can simulate that for you if you want.
Great.
So you still have that.
The story, I think, overall was just top notch. And even though, like, I know I just said what I disliked was not getting a story, but I think the overall story was still really, really good. So that's mine. What you got, Anthony?
Okay, so sorry, I got distracted for a second. So the things I liked about this movie, I really liked the usage of the original Alfred Hitchcock story. I thought that was really good, and kind of like translating it into the sci-fi setting. It it worked so well, kind of moving into that whole thing. I mean, it's a relatively simple story. A bunch of people get stuck in an area. And they're trying to figure out who's the person that made it so they get stuck in that area and they're basically trapped. Who got them trapped, and why did they get them trapped in the first place? I mean, you could have. I feel like we had a similar story on like Community at some point. It's almost like a bottle episode of a story. So it's like you could tell a story about people getting stuck in an elevator in a building, you know, this could be a story in any show. It could be a story on New Girl, you know. So it's just the universal the dexterity or basically the flexibility of the story is great, and the using this for a story in space is that much better because not only is it, I mean, getting stuck in a boat in the Atlantic is one thing. You're stuck in an open boat. You can breathe. You can fish. You can do this. You can do that. Getting stuck in a tin can in outer space without the ability to do anything, without the ability to radio for help, it's that much worse because it's not like you have like hundreds of miles to the next human being. You have millions, hundreds of millions of miles between you and the next thing. Because there's just nothing but vacuum around you, so it's that much like of more of a desperation there. So it's just like kind of like builds on that story there that Hitchcock wrote and makes it that much more desperate, I feel like. So I really like the use of the setting and kind of twisting it to that. I would love to see a remake of this with the current technology and kind of like telling the story like today, in this type of setting. I think it would be really cool. I also really liked, my favorite was Mavine. Again, I feel like she was like the crux of the story. I wish we got more of her, but like the whole thing with like the radiation shields, or the I think it was the radiation shields that couldn't come back up, and we see her slow progression. That since she's basically sacrificing herself to make to shepherd the vessel to different places. But we see her like she starts out like okay, and then she's like getting like burns because she's like exposed to like the cosmic radiation, and then we see her meet her end to the comet tail there as she is basically gets like beat up by like micrometeoroids off the comet's tail, the comet dust and whatnot. So that made no sense. The conglomeration of things I said.
I followed.
Yeah, it did make sense to me. But those are the things I really liked about this movie. I feel like the other thing I liked is the audacity of the director to cast himself as the villain in his own movie. So it's like Mr. Ron Silver is like, hey, I think I'm the only one good enough to be the villain in my own TV movie. So in my first feature, I'm going to be the star.
Might as well, right?
I love movies when they do that. So he did a good job. So
he did a really good job. Okay, so with that said, it is time to rate the movie. So as if you've listened to the podcast, you already know we are on Letterboxd now. You can follow us over at Let's Do a Podcast. We actually rate our movies now 1 star to 5 star. You can do half stars. Anthony, how would you rate this movie?
5 stars. This movie's awesome. I love this movie. This movie got me into sci-fi. This movie has its flaws, okay? It's a TV movie. They worked with a budget, but Mr. Ron Silver, you did a knockout job. You got me into the kind of genre that I'm into. So, Ryan, I'm relying on you to moderate that, but 5 stars from me. Yours truly.
So I would actually give this a 4. So we'll do 4.5. You know, it's a good in between. Because again, I feel like of the things that I've said, of just the fact that I came in super low expectations, not because of you. Well, you and me didn't even talk about it.
Right. I didn't.
Right. You sent me the trailer. I didn't even watch it. I was like, I'm just gonna watch the movie. So I came in and immediately just thought, okay, it's gonna be this, and then it can't. I mean, everything that I said, that the fact that they even call it out, like, hey, we don't have money. But they did what they like. I don't know. Just overall, I would watch it again, but like kind of what we talked about in the sense of like the suspense is gone, so I don't know if I'd actually watch it again. I think though it is worth watching, especially if you are a sci-fi nerd, you love space, you love all this stuff. I think it's a must.
You're Alfred Hitchcock fan
it is,
too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's such a good for TV movie. Like Anthony said, if they were to remake it with everything we have now, at the same time, I'd be a little bit worried. Just because you don't really quite know the direction they would go. But
they gotta do it beat for beat. They have to.
Yeah, like if it's the exact same story, but everything just upgraded, I think it would be such a great movie.
They would have to change it to Mars, I think, because like living on Venus is not realistic.
Yeah, we got to change where you're living and all that kind of stuff. But
it's like do this as like a side story in the Expanse universe, and like you got a story right there.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised and happy. I was sick the day that I decided I'm gonna just watch all of our movies, and I was like, that was a great movie. That was a good sick day movie. So I could definitely see as younger me too, because like the one I picked versus what you picked, it's only a year difference.
Yeah, they were really close together. I found that really funny.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I was just like, I think it was such a good time frame for sci-fi movies. And
Yeah.
so it's like anything in this range, it's gonna be hard for me not to give it a good rating because I just feel
Yeah.
like that was the prime time for this shit.
Hmm.
So yes, 4.5 is what we give it. If you
Yeah,
watched this
go check this movie
before,
out. It's on Pluto TV, Tubi, all those
yeah.
commercial services. Check it out.
And
Freebie. Yeah.
if you've watched it before, or if you decided to watch it after this, let us know what you think. We want to hear from you. Are we just like too caught up in this time frame of movies where you're just like, guys, this was fucking awful? Let us know.
Yeah, is this, have we gotten hit by the member berries, the nostalgia bug? Whatever you call it? Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Again, follow us over on Letterbox. I update it whenever I watch the movies that we watched it, so people can see. Oh, he watched it. I can't wait to see it. And so I try to
Yeah.
build it up at least somewhere. And right now, I guess that's the place to do it. So, Anthony, are you still sipping on your beer? Have you finished it off? What are we doing?
Oh, I finished my beer a while ago.
Okay, awesome. I'm about to finish mine off. So give us your thoughts and rating for yours.
Great mouthfeel, great flavor. A little bit of bitterness there. It's. I thought this was in New England. It says it's in New England, but I feel like it's got like a kind of an American IPA type feel to it. So I'm not sure. It's not quite as juicy as I thought it would be. It's interesting because the flavor profile on Untapped has it as hoppy, juicy, which I'm not really sure about juicy, smooth, sharp, and metallic. Which I was like, brewed with pennies. I don't know.
Sharp and metallic. That makes me not want to drink that.
But I enjoyed it. Once I got a few sips of it under my belt there, I was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. So I would put this as a 3.5. I really enjoyed Starbase Brewing. They're star hopped, not made with rocket fuel. So
that's always a plus.
yes, not or hydraulic fluid. So.
All right, so mine is the Sockeye Winterfest Strong Ale. So if you guys are watching the podcast, which you can watch on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, I had some very strong facial expressions.
You did,
and I think it's just such a strong, bitter flavor that it's rough at the beginning. But of course, as you start drinking it more, everything starts to balance out in your mouth. I actually drank it a lot faster than I thought I would. I thought I would still be sipping on it, honestly. So, I mean, overall, I don't think it's a bad winter ale. I think I'm just not used to drinking such bitter beer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, of course now I'm drinking a lot more West Coast IPAs. Those tend to be a little bit more bitter, more hoppier. But this was beyond anything I've had in such a long time, so it just took me off.
On a scale of 3D IPA to Narbeast, where does this fall?
It's like, so here's Narbeast, which everybody watching, and like here's where we're at with this guy. So Narbeast, 3D IPA. So it's definitely close to it on the
Narbeast,
bitter side. Yeah. It's getting really close to the Narbeast. The what kind of beer is that? The
barley wine, yeah.
Barley wine kind of feel.
But I still hold to the fact that I feel like Narbeast tastes like Band-Aids to me. So
yes, you know what? I had a sip of barley wine the other day that actually tasted really good. So I'm like, okay, I think I just need to branch out and start finding different ones.
Maybe I need to try something different. I was thinking about the same thing recently.
Yeah, so I can't do a glass. I'm not gonna buy a pack of it. But anyways, so this guy, if I had another one, I would drink it. It's not one I wouldn't drink again. So okay, so all that to say, for a winter ale, I would probably put this at like 2.75 for me.
0.75.
Because I think a while ago you and me, like, we did a podcast, and I had a winter ale that I got from Rogue Company.
Hmm.
That was like Snowstorm or Snowman or Snowstorm Man or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're, to me, they are so opposite winter ales. It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
So I'm just trying to base it off of remembering the other winter ales that I've had. So that's kind of where I'm giving this from. Um, but again, like if I had more of these, I wouldn't just let them sit in the fridge. I think I would actually drink it. Um, but I don't think I would go out of my way to get any more. um, so all right, cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what I drink next because I'm ready. I'm
Always
ready for
fun.
something. Ready for something new.
All right.
So,
I already
anyways,
got mine picked for. I already got mine picks for the next one, so I'm ready for it.
nice. I can't wait to hear. Let's talk about our thing of the week. Then we'll get out of here. I know most of our episodes are getting about an hour each time, so we're
I
doing
know.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Because that's like I try to keep it max of around an hour. So, Anthony, do you have a thing of the week?
My thing of the week is so I've been watching this show on Sci-Fi. I feel like it needs to get more attention out there. So it's been this. It's this, of course, a show on Sci-Fi. It's a sci-fi show. It's called The Ark. Have you heard of this?
Oh yes, yes,
Have you
yes.
been watching this?
I stopped for I watched a lot of this.
This show is a. I feel like this show is like a monster of the week show, except it's like a problem of the week show. I feel like it's as they continue, they've solved the problem. Oh no, there's a new problem, and they have to go deal with this. It's like, oh no, the captain is a clone. But then everybody's okay with it. Oh no, the founder of this company is on the ship, and what's he doing there? And it's like basically it's almost like monster of the week type television, like you had with like Angel and Buffy and all this other stuff, except it's just like space. So it's like all these problems
Yeah.
keep cropping up, and they're trying to get to this other solar system, and the engines broke down, and like what happened? There's this whole central mystery of what attacked them that stopped them from like destroyed half of the cryo bays and all this other stuff, and killed most of the people on the ship. So sci-fi show on Sci-Fi Channel, The Ark. It's such a weird. It's I feel like if LifePod was made today with the similar resources, I feel like it would look like this show. Not to say this show is cheaply made, but it's not as quality as like say shows like The Expanse. It's less realistic. It's kind of cheesy. It's not. It's somewhat character driven, but it's very procedural ish. It's just it is what it is. It's The Ark. It's interesting. I'm hooked. I watch it. I watch it on Sundays. I'll watch a few episodes. I can get caught up every now and then. But I enjoy it. So and some of the plot points you can see from a mile away. But hey, we've all seen it all at this point. So, but yeah, that's my thing of the week is The Ark on Sci-Fi Channel.
So mine's actually a sci-fi show as well, but mine is off of Apple TV. So I can't remember how, but somewhere we got like a free subscription for a month. So again, whenever I was out this week from work, I decided like, you know what, let me see what's on Apple TV. And this show called Invasion on Apple TV.
I love that show. I wish they were making a second season of that.
My God.
Yeah.
It is so incredibly good. Like it feels like you're watching a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk too much about it because this is one I truly think everybody should get a subscription to Apple TV just to watch this. Well, there's a lot of good stuff on Apple TV.
There's a lot of good stuff there, yeah.
But I think this should be the push for you just to try it out for a month. I think if you sign up, you can get like a free 3 months or something like that.
I will give one spoiler about that show. So they advertise very heavily using Sam Neill in there, and Sam Neill is only in the first episode. He's not in it after that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, it, I like really as I've been trying to think of like how much do I want to share. It's so it's an alien invasion. There you go.
like you
Uh,
do.
and it's a different. It's like what 3 or 4 different people that you
Yeah,
follow throughout the invasion of like how they're doing, how they're handling it. There's a family that like she went to medical school but never really became a nurse. And so her and her family going through it. And then like a guy that's in I think the Marines or the Air Force, I can't remember.
yeah. He's like a
Um
special operator, though. Yeah,
yeah, and then like a bunch of kids that live in England that were like going on a trip during all this happened. I feel like there was another one, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
there's
Uh,
the Japanese space agency
yes,
people. Yeah,
yes, yes. And it's so interesting. It's another one that you like. You don't know what's really going to happen next. I
hmm
kind of went in with the mindset of like it's another alien invasion type movie, but this is so different. Uh, so I think I'm gonna leave it there because I hope it's intrigued you enough, knowing that it's different, uh, to go watch it because I have thought about going through it again.
I really found the two characters I found most interesting though are Anisha, who is the housewife. I found her story
Hmm.
really interesting, and Travantes, who is the soldier. I think he's in Afghanistan when the invasion's
Yeah,
going on. Yeah,
yeah.
those are just my two favorites on that show.
It was
Yeah.
so good. It really surprised me. So get Apple TV. You can find deals that are like a month or 3 months or something like that. So you don't even have to spend money right off the bat. But I suggest get Apple TV, watch it, and you don't have to have an Apple device to get Apple TV. I've learned that recently. So, all right. Um, so our next movie is the 1994 Stargate. Yes, I am so excited.
Or is it this one? I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah, something like that. Uh, yeah, I'm not going to talk about it because we're about to. So,
Just gonna
everybody,
seg right into that one.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a long episode.
Yeah.
So, guys, you can find us on Twitch at Let's Twitch a Pod, on Facebook and YouTube at Let's Do a Podcast, on Instagram at Let's Instapod. You can email us at Let's Do a Podcast 22. Make sure you guys, wherever you're listening to this, please leave a rating and a review. Really helps push us out there. Oh, we're also on Letterbox, as I already said, at Let's Do a Podcast. If you have any beer or movie advice, feel free to tell us. We're always looking to expand our horizon. So with that said, guys, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, not next week, because this is not Cage Fest for Stargate. So thank you
Yep, sorry,
so
we
much for
spoiled you
hanging out.
guys. Yeah.
I know. We got to have that little break too. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for hanging out. We love you guys. And I'm Ryan.
And I'm Anthony.
Bye.
Yep, this is the end of the podcast.
Yes, we're ending right here, right now.
The end.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.